But with Sigma, it's like their interpretation of Ninja Gaiden, which is intentionally removing Itagaki's influence, which to me is what made it so offensive. Because Tecmo, they're the ones that shit canned him and then went out of their way to remove his influence in all these games while still reselling and profiting off of his talent, his work. And to me, that's some nefarious bullshit. And they don't deserve any type of like praise because they never cared. Their whole thing was to steal his work, make their own version, and just quietly replace it like as if he was never there. No, I said this. It's like, look, if you really wanted to honor Itagaki's legacy, you would re-release Dead or Alive 1, 2, 3, 4, Ultimate 1 and 2, Extreme Beach Volleyball 1 and 2, and Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden 2 as themselves, just updated for PC. If you wanted to honor his legacy, release the games he actually worked on. Don't sit here and release this bullshit Ninja Gaiden 4 and claim that it's to honor his influence when you guys have been purposefully ignoring him all the way up until his death. All right, we're not going to get into it here, but I will tell you what it's about.
Hold on now. This Ninja Gaiden 4 looks cool. You can't be possibly rant on Ninja Gaiden 4. That game looks so cool.
Hold on. I will say, but let me preface this. The rant is not towards normal people who just enjoy action games. You are not my enemy. I am not talking to you. If you enjoy it, that's fine. That does not bother me. All right. Let me identify who I'm mad at and who deserves to get shut up. First of all, Tecmo. They're getting like the majority of the hate. And behind them are the people who are trying to tie this game's significance to honor Tomonobu Itagaki. Those are the only people I'm shitting on, right? Because in this case, you have to have privileged knowledge to understand why somebody like me would have an issue with this game. If you just like it and you press the buttons and Ryu does the cool moves, I ain't mad at you. Buy the game, play the game, enjoy the game. I'm not talking to you. Get out the line of fire. I am not pointing at you. If you want to jump in front and get shot, that's on you. But I promise, like the average consumer who likes action games that look like that, you're fine. You're free to go. So that's that.
Yeah, that's deep, bro. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
that's deep.
I realized because I put a post on Twitter and I'm like, I really need to make sure I start specifying who deserves the hate, and I can't keep shooting at. I have to narrow my aim. Yeah, I have to zero in on my target because a lot of people will interpret it as, oh, well, you talking about me? I just like the game, and then they feel like they got to defend the game. Like, no, this game does not require a defense of you. Your defense. If you're playing it and enjoying it, you're cool. This is for those who have privileged knowledge on the history of the game, the history of the game's creator, and his significance within that game and within the franchise that is lacking here. So we're good. But
that's tough, bro. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. I wasn't expecting. I thought you was coming from the people who like it, but you shut that down real quick.
Yeah,
I like
because they're innocent. They have nothing to do with this. Like, even if you shill the game because you think it's cool, it's like, hey, The only way you'd be in trouble is if you're one of those people who are trying to tie it to Itagaki specifically. I got a problem with them. But if you're just, dude, bro, who likes games where the guy with the sword slices up everything, hey, you fine, bro. Hey,
yeah,
you're good. But just to kind of, I guess I'll start into it a little bit. So, as you all know, Tobunobu Itagaki passed away last month, or it was announced, and you don't really see it too much in my videos because, like I said, I spend more time just playing games. I don't put so much of my life on YouTube to where, because some people will be like, you don't even cover content. Like I've been playing Ninja Gaiden, Dead or Alive. Those are my favorite games of all time since I was literally 13 years old. My first experience with a game that I loved outside of Sonic the Hedgehog as a kid, Dead or Alive. That's when I hit puberty. That game was with me when I hit puberty. So there's like that game. It's right here. It's the first fighting game I've always played, and like I loved it. And I loved it so much that I had to find out like who was responsible for creating this masterpiece. He was one of the first developers I learned about, by name. Because back then when you play a bunch of video games, like I love Sonic the Hedgehog, and that's all. Knuckles and Echidna, all this shit, but you don't know, as a kid, you don't really look up people like Ken Penders who are responsible for why you like it so much.
Yeah.
And so, as I got older, I was like 13, 14. I was like, I got to figure out who did this. I started looking on the back of the game copy. It's like Tobunobu Itagaki. Who is that guy? Like, what's his deal? And the more I learned about him, the more I was like, this is the coolest motherfucker on the planet because all he just creates gold. Like he creates games for me. And then he got me into Aerosmith. I was like, man, this music is sick. Aerosmith sounds amazing. So just to kind of give like my personal experience with Itagaki. I've never met him, but I've always admired him probably a little too much when I was younger because I was just like, dude, he's just so cool. Like he's always got the shades on, the black leather jacket, and he's like, I've seen Japanese people my whole life, and he looks nothing like any of them. He looks like he has main character aura, as the kids would say.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be in a business area, all the Japanese nerds on a computer with their glasses, and he's just walking around like, yeah, I'm the shit. And it's just like, I just want to see this guy in person. He was like a rock star.
Yeah.
And so, and over time, over the years, I realized like his influence in gaming wasn't respected. I'm sure you remember back in the day when the old FGC, Dead or Alive was never taken seriously. It was always kind of just like the game that no one just looked at as a legitimate fighting game.
Yeah, it took a backseat to Virtua Fighter and Tekken.
Yeah. And so when I came into the scene, I was like, where's Dead or Alive? Or Dead or Alive is like, that's my thing. I eventually grew to like Tekken, but I had Itagaki syndrome back then where I thought Tekken was just a trash game because it wasn't Dead or Alive. But
that's fair. There was a point in time where I liked Dead or Alive more than Tekken, so I know exactly what you mean, and for good reason. Dead or Alive was like super crazy.
It was doing things that to this day no other game can really just imitate.
Exactly.
And if it does imitate it, it can't do it well.
even with Tekken 8, their stage transitions and knocking people through glass, bro, it still don't got nothing on Dead or Alive 2.
Yeah. It's
like nothing on Dead or Alive 2. I can't even remember when Dead or Alive 2 came out, but the stages and the stage interactions and knocking people off buildings, like you said, nobody's been able to do it to that level. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and it kind of shows you where creativity really does trump technology. It's you don't need all these really expensive, like ceiling for technological advancements to pull off something that looks so cool. It's like Dead or Alive 2 is so cool that to this day, yes, it should be easy for you to replicate technically what Dead or Alive 2 did, but it doesn't. And even Dead or Alive kind of lost that magic with Dead or Alive 5. There's a lot of aspects about 5 that were good. But when it comes to like the appeal, Itagaki was clearly like the driving force behind why Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive were so cool and fun to play. The experience was one of a kind.
Yeah.
So to kind of bring it back to Ninja Gaiden. So there's an aspect, there's a history lesson involving Tomonobu's departure from Tecmo that a lot of people I don't think are aware of. They don't know about, because the last genuine Dead or Alive game and Ninja Gaiden game was Dead or Alive 4 and Ninja Gaiden 2. Those are like that's the end of the Itagaki era. And I'm gonna paraphrase some of like what happened, but Itagaki was not in good graces with Tecmo at the time because of how influential and successful he was. I think there was a thing where he was kind of threatening the current president of Tecmo at the time because of how much he was carrying the publisher, because he was doing everything. Like nobody would know who Tecmo was if it wasn't for Tomonobu Itagaki. And you can look up interviews where he talked about why he chose Tecmo, and it was really on a whim. That Tecmo was down the street from where I live, so that's why I went there. He could have went anywhere, but he chose Tecmo out of convenience. And back then, the only thing Tecmo was known for was this bullshit Madden ripoff called Tecmo Bowl, some football game that nobody remembers, no one cares about. So Itagaki, with his creative flow, gave birth to several franchises that put Tecmo on the map as a genuine game publisher that had good games. The Dead or Alive franchise, the Extreme franchise, Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
And just like Gaseous Clay says, hard-boiled dudes who gave zero shits like Itagaki are a dying breed. So few of them left. So Itagaki's personality was intentionally inflammatory. He was very out there with his criticisms, which wasn't common for the Japanese back then. Japanese people are known for being polite, reserved, and conservative and quiet. He was the complete opposite. If he thought something was shit, he would be like, that looks like shit. His feud with Harada from Tekken, he was like, the worst games ever created is Tekken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like all the games are shit. And I know they're shit because they play like shit. And of course, it came out that was kind of more of a marketing ploy that he came up with, because he was really infatuated with American culture. That's why his persona was so bombastic. He liked wrestling. He liked how Americans were like all about the entertainment. And you can see that in his design philosophy for Dead or Alive. That's why Dead or Alive was so popular. And so, just to kind of bring it back to, I guess, the point of, the rant, is that Tecmo kind of gave Itagaki the boot for no reason. He got hit with a false sexual allegation charge that pretty much, back then, he was canceled before canceling was a thing.
Yeah.
This was all the way back in 2000, back when the 360 first launched, because you could tell with how Dead or Alive 5 was, certain aspects about the game had a error of finality. Like this was it. Like if you looked at the credits for Dead or Alive 4, he made it clear like this is the last game. This is everything's wrapping up here. This is it. plot points are getting wrapped up. DOA tech is being destroyed. Donovan's dead, and Helena seems to be going down with the ship. And, you know, a lot of fans, myself included, kind of got emotional because, you know, this is back, you know, I was like, what, 19 when this happened? And I was looking around like, you know, of course, as a kid, I'm like, so is this the last Dead or Alive? What do you mean? Like, I want this to go on forever. You know, I'm so used to there being a 2, 3, 4. And he didn't expressly say it, but he did leave a hint in there that said there may be hope. And that was kind of his way of saying, like, look, there's some shit going on. I can't tell you the details. You'll figure it out later, but maybe it'll work out. Maybe it doesn't. Unfortunately, it did. So that whole thing happened. He left the company, and that was pretty much the end. And so what happened to him was that when you get hit with a sexual assault allegation, you're pretty much done. Uh, what do you call it? I guess socially, like on the outside.
Yeah.
It's like you've been branded as, you know, that's bad. You can't bounce back from that.
Whether you did it or not, it's like
Yeah.
the stain of the allegation makes people not want to be around you.
Yeah, especially when it comes to business, and especially in Japan at the time. So he would technically, as far as I know, would be the first high profile cancellation by using today's terminology. He was canceled unfairly because none of the allegations stuck. He didn't go to prison. He beat all of the cases in court, but it didn't change anything. He was branded as bad for business.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately.
since then he was never able to fully recover. Like there was Devil's Third, which it was not a good project because it released on the Wii U and it just wasn't good. And that was his attempt to kind of get back in there. And I'm of the opinion that because of like the high profile exit, with him leaving Tecmo, just kind of ruined his reputation. And the only people that really kind of had his back were just fans of his work, which isn't enough to really kind of help him in any real professional capacity.
Yeah.
And so as the years went on, certain interviews and information came out about the situation. He had an interview, I think, with Emperor Cal. He was a DOA, I guess you could say, content creator that talked to him about Dead or Alive 5 and stuff. And he was really clear on what the problems with Dead or Alive 5 was, because when it got announced, I was excited, but I could tell there's something different about the game. But the desire for there to be a new Dead or Alive was so strong, I didn't care. I was just like, it's here. I just wanted one so bad. And I didn't realize like how bad I wanted it came at a cost. It's like, yeah, you got Dead or Alive 5 without Itagaki. And it's just like, okay, maybe it won't be so bad. It was that bad. Like Dead or Alive 5 isn't a horrible game by any means. Like it's a good game, but you could feel the absence of its true, genuine identity.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as time went on, all this stuff happened, and we kind of get to today. Like when it comes to Ninja Gaiden 3 was historically horrible. And it was because it wasn't run by Itagaki. It was so bad that they had to re-release the game and just kind of try to mirror his style to the best of their ability in the form of Ninja Gaiden 3's Razor's Edge.
Yeah.
Now let's fast forward to Ninja Gaiden 4 and why it frustrates me so much. So Tomonobu Itagaki has always been known for being extremely critical of very nuanced aspects of certain types of game design. And he showed it in Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2. No game plays like Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2. And his choices and how that game operates is what sets it apart from most action games.
Yeah.
Now, he was critical of Devil May Cry. Now, that doesn't like I like Devil May Cry, but his criticisms are the reason why Ninja Gaiden 2 plays so much differently. And seeing Ninja Gaiden 4 to me, I view that game as a abomination because it incorporates all of what makes it doesn't incorporate anything that makes Ninja Gaiden Ninja Gaiden. It's just called Ninja Gaiden, made by people who don't understand Ninja Gaiden. And what frustrated me even further is when people were like, buy the game to honor Tomonobu Itagaki. To me, that's sacrilege because Itagaki would look at this game and say, this is some bullshit. And I don't like saying like, oh, a dead man would say this. And it's like, that's not fair. I understand that. But if you understood the type of guy he was, that would be automatic.
Yeah.
Like, because he.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that they know when they say that? Do they actually know the history of what they're talking about?
Well, this is where I get frustrated. That's why I target those people, because if you're a fan of Itagaki, because it's easy for everyone to give him his flowers after he passes. When people die, that's what people do. They're like, oh man, even though he was treated like shit and his games were disrespected by the masses for the entirety of their run, now that he's dead, everyone wants to pretend like, oh, he was a great guy after all. It's like, you didn't respect him while he was alive. You're full of shit for saying that now that he's dead. You're only saying that because it's just like the right thing to do. Because back in the day, I would get shit on for liking Dead or Alive. Oh, you just like that titty game. That's a titty game. It ain't a real fighting game. And I took it all on the chin. I didn't care because I liked what I liked. Yeah. And it was cool. It was good. And I was good enough at it to where it'd be like, well, if the only measure you guys have is if you're good at the game, I'm the only motherfucker here that plays it. So of course I'm the best at it. And you're not even going to give it the time of day anyway. So why are you shitting on it? Whatever. Don't give a shit. So it's frustrating to see that be the case. I lived through that for years. Getting shat on by other people who play other games, these art people that write articles, the gaming industry, always kind of taking jabs at us. And like the whole time we were just like, whatever. Just like Itagaki was like, whatever. You guys are shitting on me, but I done sold 1 million copies.
Yeah.
Somebody's playing it, And so for me, I became a fan of the guy behind the game, not just the game. And 5 was when I realized that this is a good game, but it's not Dead or Alive. Not really. It's Dead or Alive in name only. The character motivations are alien. The design philosophy, there's too much balance here. I didn't appreciate it back then because that's when I started getting into fighting games serious. But Itagaki's philosophy on fighting games is like, I'm making them fighting entertainment. This isn't about balance patches and making the character. Dead or Alive had a very unusual method when it came to balance, but it was really kind of even across the board when you look at the design philosophy of the rock, paper, scissors system. Strikes beat throws, throws beat holds, holds beat strikes. And that very simple core mechanic is what made Dead or Alive so accessible, fun, and entertaining to play. That interview he had with Emperor Cow, he kind of went over the pillars of what makes Dead or Alive, as opposed to like a game like Tekken where they put so much effort into balance. And we can see that in Tekken 8. Like they're trying to do the entertainment angle, but the balance is so important. That's why it looks stiff. That's why it looks stale in comparison. Because with Itagaki, his mindset is like, look, if somebody flies off the side of a cliff or down the Great Wall of China, we're not going to put an extra 48 hours into balancing to make sure that the damage is like this and that you land and that you can check and blah, blah, blah. That's not important. This is fighting entertainment. Same thing with Ninja Gaiden. He's like, this isn't about balance. This is about you're playing as a super ninja Ryu Hayabusa. You need to experience the world through the eyes of Ryu Hayabusa. Yeah. And his world is very aggressive and unfair, but he's badass. And you got to be badass. So like Electric Underground, recently released a video. I highly recommend anybody watch it. He does a very good job of dissecting the difference in design philosophy between Dead or Alive, or Itagaki's Ninja Gaiden and Tecmo / Platinum / Team Ninja's Ninja Gaiden. So I highly recommend watching that video. It's by Electric Underground. Just to kind of break it down for people who don't know the specifics. But, in that video, he showed a clip where Itagaki was talking about game design. You have to have 10, like there's 10% and the other 90. The 10% is what you don't budge on. That's the foundation. You can change the other 90% all day, but this 10% is non-negotiable. This is the core of the game that cannot be changed by any means.
Yeah.
And you can see that in the difference between something like Ninja Gaiden 2 and Ninja Gaiden 3 and 4. And even Sigma, because after he left, they re-released Ninja Gaiden. That's another thing. We kind of talked about it before. But with Sigma, it's like their interpretation of Ninja Gaiden, which is intentionally removing Itagaki's influence, which to me is what made it so offensive. Because Tecmo, they're the ones that shit canned him and then went out of their way to remove his influence in all these games while still reselling and profiting off of his talent, his work. And to me, that's some nefarious bullshit. And they don't deserve any type of like praise because they never cared. Their whole thing was to steal his work, make their own version, and just quietly replace it like as if he was never there. I said this, it's like, look, if you really wanted to honor Itagaki's legacy, you would re-release Dead or Alive 1, 2, 3, 4, Ultimate 1 and 2, Extreme Beach Volleyball 1 and 2, and Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden 2 as themselves, just updated for PC. If you wanted to honor his legacy, release the games he actually worked on. Don't sit here and release this bullshit Ninja Gaiden 4 and claim that it's to honor his influence when you guys have been purposefully ignoring him all the way up until his death.
Yeah.
So that's why, and I'll wrap it up in a little bit. I don't want to make it its own thing, but that's kind of why my whole angle on hating this game is the way it is. It's offensive, it's wrong, and for people to try to like tie that to a new game that has none of his influence in it at all, and just tack on like, oh yeah, in honor of Itagaki because Ninja and Gaiden, and Ryo Hayabusa, and it's like, so for people that just like generic action games, you're not the target. You can enjoy the game because you're not coming from you're not coming from my historic, interest in the franchise or the guy behind it. But I just can't let it slide for those who were there, who grew up with it like I did. Tevin had a good description for them. They're a brand loyalist. They don't care about the actual, what caused this game to be. Yeah, that's kind of always been like a criticism for gaming, within gaming, where people who are just like, oh, as long as it's called the thing, it's good enough for me. It's like, if that's the case, just say that. No one wants to say that because it sounds bad. Like, it is bad, but that's neither here nor there. But I'll make like a dedicated video going into detail. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I saw all your chats, but I just, it just gets me all emotional and shit.
Yeah.
But we've been going for, look forward to it. We've been going for 2 hours and going on 20 minutes. We ain't gonna keep it too long, guys. This was a random impromptu stream. I appreciate you guys for coming out. Even though we ain't been putting out no content like that, you guys always come through for us. I appreciate it. We're going to try to have something more consistently for you. because we want to do it, not because we feel like we have to.
Yeah, exactly.
But Kuroki Samurai, Gaseous Clay, H3 the game, Caveman J. Let's see, we'll go up here. Man, legit K Moon. All right, bro. Gator Milk, Sipper Supreme, Billy Donuts. I appreciate you guys stopping by. It's always nice to see you guys, even if we've been like MIA for a while. But I'll go ahead, wrap up the stream. I'm gonna try to get some like I said, I've mostly just been playing stuff. I'm kind of far enough along where I think I won't mind streaming it while I play. But as always, I appreciate you guys stopping by. You got anything you want to add there? H3 the game.
You know what? I got to get back on it as well. Immortal Afro, he's leading the charge, so I need to be behind him, getting my stuff up. I've been posting things here and there, but I need to be more consistent, and I'm looking forward to doing that in the future. So just check me out, H3 the Game on YouTube, H3 the Game on Twitch, H3 the Game on X. It's time to get active. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's fucking go. But in the meantime, folks, thank you for watching. Your Immortal Afro Josh. This is my co-host, H3 the Game, and you are watching Immortal Afro Gaming, where we will make gaming niche again. Till next time, guys, take it easy. Peace out.